Blood hit the frozen ground before she felt the pain. Vaelyra staggered, her breath tearing out of her chest as another blow slammed into her ribs. The world tilted. Voices roared around her, sharp, accusing, merciless. "Traitor! She betrayed the pack. I trusted you." A cold voice cut through everything, calm and final. Vaelyra's head snapped up, her vision blurring until it found him. Thalrian, the man she had waited for, the mate she had believed would save her. "I didn't," she gasped, her voice breaking. "I swear, I would never—" "Silence!" The word struck harder than any fist. He stepped forward, his presence suffocating, his eyes devoid of warmth. "You think your tears will change the truth?" "I did nothing!" she cried, crawling toward him, her hands shaking. "You know me. You felt the bond? I felt weakness," he interrupted, in disgust curling his lips. "And now I see betrayal." Something inside her cracked. "No," she whispered. "Please, don't do this." But the crowd was already chanting, "Reject her! Cast her out!" Thalrian didn't hesitate. "I, Thalrian of the Ashen Claw," his voice rang across the courtyard, "reject you, Vaelyra, as my mate." The bond snapped. It wasn't pain, it was annihilation. Vaelyra screamed. Her body convulsed as something sacred inside her tore apart, leaving nothing but emptiness. The world dimmed, her heart stuttering as if it had forgotten how to beat. "Take her," Thalrian said coldly. "Dispose of the traitor." Hands grabbed her. She didn't fight. She couldn't. They dragged her through the gates, her body scraping against stone, her vision fading in and out. Snow began to fall, soft and indifferent, settling into her hair, or her lashes, her wounds. The forest swallowed them. One of the guards laughed. "She won't last an hour." "Good," another muttered. "Let the beasts finish what we started." Vaelyra tried to speak, but blood filled her mouth. "I didn't," she choked. No one listened. They threw her down like garbage. Her body hit the frozen earth with a dull thud. Pain exploded through her, then dulled into something distant, almost peaceful. Footsteps retreated. Silence returned. Vaelyra lay there, staring up at the dark sky as snow fell over her, slow and endless. "So this is how it ends," she whispered, her voice barely there. "Not as a Luna, not even as a wolf. Just nothing." Her eyes fluttered. "I didn't betray you," she murmured, though there was no one left to hear it. "Why wouldn't you believe me?" Her breathing slowed. The cold crept deeper. And then, far away, in a kingdom she had never seen, something stirred. A man jolted upright in his bed, his chest heaving, his eyes blazing with something ancient and furious. "No," he breathed. The dream clung to him, vivid and violent. A girl, bleeding, alone, calling out in silence, his hands clenched into fists as a growl ripped from his throat. "Who are you?" His wolf surged forward, restless, savage. "Ours." The word echoed in his mind, undeniable. The man swung his legs off the bed, already moving. "Impossible," he muttered, dragging a hand through his dark hair. "I do not dream." Yet her face burned behind his eyes, her pain, her voice, her breaking. He grabbed his cloak, his pulse hammering. "Where are you?" he demanded into the empty room. "Ours," the wolf repeated, louder now. "Find her." His jaw tightened. He did not chase ghosts. He did not follow instincts without reason. He was Zareth Veylorn, sovereign of the Obsidian Dominion, the Alpha King whose name made armies kneel. He bowed to nothing, and yet his body was already moving. The palace guards barely had time to react as he strode past them, his aura suffocating, his expression carved from stone. "Your Majesty," one began. "Prepare nothing." Zareth cut him off without slowing. "I ride alone." The doors slammed open. Cold night air hit his face, but it did nothing to cool the fire burning inside him. Something was wrong, something had shifted, and for the first time in years, Zareth Veylorn felt urgency. Back in the forest, Vaelyra's fingers twitched. Her vision had gone dark, her body numb, her heartbeat faint and fading. But something flickered. A pull, a thread. Weak, but there. Her lips parted. "Help," she whispered, though she didn't know why. There was no one. Nothing. Only darkness. And yet, somewhere between life and death, she felt it. Not the bond she had lost. Something else. Something deeper. Something older. Her chest rose sharply as a faint warmth brushed against her senses. She tried to hold on to it, tried to breathe, tried to live, but the cold was stronger. Her body stilled, and the forest waited. The wind howled through the trees as Zareth moved like a shadow between them, his speed unnatural, his presence bending the forest to his will. Branches snapped beneath his boots, frost clung to his cloak, but he did not slow. "Closer," his wolf growled inside him. "She's close." "I know," Zareth muttered, his voice low, controlled, though something wild edged beneath it. He should not be here. He should not be chasing a dream, and yet every step forward felt right. A scent hit him. Blood. Faint. Dying. His head snapped toward it instantly. "There," his wolf snarled. Zareth surged forward, his pace doubling, his senses sharpening until the world narrowed into one single point. And then he saw her. She lay crumpled against the frozen ground, half buried in snow, her body still, her skin pale as death. Blood stained everything, her clothes, and her hands, the earth beneath her. For a moment Zareth stopped. Something inside him went utterly silent. "This is her?" he asked, his voice almost disbelieving. The girl from his dreams, broken, left to die like she was nothing. "Ours," his wolf said again, quieter now, but more dangerous. Zareth stepped closer, his gaze hardening as he took in every injury, every bruise, every sign of cruelty carved into her fragile body. "Who did this to you?" he murmured. He crouched beside her, his hand hovering just above her face. Cold. Too cold. "She's dying," his wolf warned. "I can see that," Zareth snapped, irritation masking something far more unsettling. He did not hesitate again, his hand pressed against her neck, faint. So faint he almost missed it. A heartbeat. Still there, still fighting. Zareth exhaled slowly, and something shifting deep within him. "You refuse to die," he said softly. Interesting. For a brief second, he considered leaving her. She was nothing to him, a stranger, a weak, broken wolf discarded by her own kind. Taking her would bring questions, trouble, disruption. He had no need for any of it. He straightened slightly, his expression turning cold again. "This is not my concern," he said under his breath. Silence followed. Then, "Ours." The words slammed into him, sharper this time, heavier. Zareth's jaw clenched. "I do not take orders from you," he growled internally, but his wolf did not retreat. "If she dies, you lose her." The certainty in that voice made something twist inside his chest. Lose her? He didn't even know her. And yet, he looked down at her again, at the way her fingers were curled weakly against the snow, as if she had tried to hold on to life until the very end, at the faint tremor still running through her body, at the silent plea etched into her expression. Zareth exhaled slowly. "Annoying," he muttered. Then, without another word, he slid his arms beneath her and lifted her effortlessly. She weighed almost nothing. Too light, too fragile. It irritated him. "You were not meant to die here," he said, more to himself than to her. "Not like this." Her head fell against his chest as he stood, her breath barely brushing against him. For a moment, just a moment, Zareth froze. Something inside him stilled again. A strange, unfamiliar warmth flickered through him, sharp and disorienting. He frowned. "What is this?" he whispered. His wolf answered immediately. "Mate." Zareth's eyes darkened. No. The word was absolute. He did not have a mate. He had rejected that idea long ago. He did not belong to anyone, and no one belonged to him. Yet as he looked down at her, broken, bleeding, barely alive, his grip on her tightened. "We will see," he said quietly. And then he moved. The journey back was faster. Zareth did not slow, did not stop, his body cutting through the forest with lethal precision. The storm began to rise again, wind tearing through the trees, snow thickening in the air. But he did not feel it. All he felt was her. Her fading heartbeat, her shallow breaths, the fragile thread of life slipping through his fingers. "You will not die," he said suddenly, his voice low but commanding. "Do you hear me?" There was no response. Of course there wasn't. Still, "Fight!" he growled, his tone turning sharper. "I did not come all this way to carry a corpse." Something strange flickered beneath his anger, fear. Zareth crushed it instantly. He did not fear loss. He did not fear death. He certainly did not fear losing a girl he had met minutes ago. And yet his pace increased. The palace gates came into view, towering and imposing. Guards rushed forward, alarmed. "Your Majesty!" "Move." They moved, immediately. Zareth stormed through the halls, his presence sending servants scrambling out of his path. "Summon the healers!" he ordered, his voice echoing with authority. "Now!" Doors flew open. He entered his private chambers without slowing and laid her carefully on the bed. For a moment, he simply stood there, looking at her. Without the snow and blood obscuring her, her features were clearer now, striking, even in this state. There was something about her, something that did not align with the weakness everyone else must have seen. "Who are you?" he murmured again. The door burst open as healers rushed in. They froze the moment they saw her. "A stranger?" one of them whispered, shocked. Zareth's gaze snapped to him. "Do you question me?" he asked softly. The temperature in the room seemed to drop instantly. No, Your Majesty," the healer stammered, bowing quickly. "We will begin immediately." "See that you do." They moved quickly, surrounding her, checking her pulse, her wounds, her breathing. Zareth stepped back, but he did not leave. His eyes remained fixed on her. Minutes passed, then, "She's barely holding on," one healer said carefully. "Her body is resisting healing." Zareth's expression darkened. "Explain." "It's as if—" The healer hesitated, in choosing his words carefully. "Something is suppressing her strength." Zareth's eyes narrowed. "Impossible." "No, Your Majesty," another healer added. "There is power within her, enormous power, but it's locked." Zareth's wolf stirred again. "Not Omega," it whispered. Zareth's gaze sharpened. "I see," he said quietly. His eyes returned to her, more intense now, more focused. "Then unlock it," he ordered. The healers exchanged glances. "We will try," they said. But Zareth already knew. This was not simple. This was not coincidence. This girl, this Vaelyra, was something far more dangerous than anyone realized. And as he watched her fragile chest rise and fall, one thought settled deep within him. If she lived, everything would change. Pain dragged her back before breath did. Vaelyra's body arched violently, a broken gasp tearing from her throat as her eyes flew open. The world slammed into her all at once, light, warmth, unfamiliar scent. She coughed, clutching at the sheets beneath her as if they might disappear. "I'm alive?" she whispered, her voice hoarse, fragile. "Yes." The answer came from the shadows. Her head snapped toward the sound. He stood near the window, unmoving, watching her. Tall, unyielding, dangerous, Zareth Veylorn. Even without knowing his name, she felt it, the weight of him, Power coiled around him like a living thing, suffocating and undeniable. Fear struck first. "Where am I?" she demanded, her voice shaking despite her effort to steady it. "What did you do to me?" Zareth didn't move. "I saved you," he said simply. "I didn't ask you to," she shot back, instinctively defensive, so though her body trembled beneath the blankets. His eyes darkened slightly. "No," he agreed. "You were too busy dying." Anger flared, sharp and sudden. "Then you should have let me," she snapped, her voice breaking at the end. Silence followed. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Zareth tilted his head slightly, studying her as though she were something rare, something unpredictable. "Interesting," he murmured, her brows furrowed. "What is?" "You choose anger over gratitude," he said calmly. "Even now." Vaelyra swallowed hard, her hands clenching into fists. "I lost everything," she whispered, her voice trembling now despite her resistance. "My mate rejected me. My pack tried to kill me. Everything I believed in," her voice cracked, "was a lie." Zareth's gaze didn't soften, then stopped clinging to it. The word struck harder than expected. "What?" she breathed. "You survived?" he continued, stepping closer now, his presence filling the space between them. "That is the only truth that matters." "You don't understand," she said, shaking her head, tears burning her eyes. "You don't know what it feels like to be nothing." Zareth stopped just beside the bed, his eyes locking onto hers with unsettling intensity. "I was born with a crown on my head," he said quietly, "and a blade at my throat." Vaelyra froze. "Power does not spare you from pain," he added. "It simply changes its shape." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, "Why did you save me?" she asked, her voice softer now, uncertain. Zareth didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened slightly as if the question itself irritated him. "You were in my way," he said at last. It was a lie. Vaelyra felt it. But she didn't push. Instead, she looked away, her gaze falling to her hands. "I should be dead," she whispered. "Maybe I was meant to be." "Stop saying that." His voice cut through her thoughts instantly. She looked up, startled. Zareth's expression had hardened, something dangerous flickering beneath the surface. "I did not bring you back just to listen to you wish for death," he said, his tone sharp now. "If you want to die, you should have done it before I arrived." Her breath caught. "Then why does it matter to you?" she demanded, frustration rising again. "Why do you care if I live or die?" Zareth's eyes locked onto hers. For a moment, just a moment, something shifted, something unguarded, but it vanished just as quickly. "It doesn't," he said. The lie landed between them. Heavy. Vaelyra held his gaze, her heart pounding for reasons she didn't understand. "Liar," she whispered. Zareth stilled. No one spoke to him like that. No one. The air in the room changed instantly, thick with tension. "Careful," he said softly, though the warning in his voice was unmistakable. Vaelyra swallowed, but she didn't look away. "I may be broken," she said quietly, "but I'm not blind." A long silence followed. Then, unexpectedly, Zareth exhaled, a slow, controlled breath. "Rest," he said, turning away from her. "You'll need your strength." "For what?" she asked. He paused at the door. "For what's coming?" The door closed behind him. Vaelyra stared at the empty space, her thoughts racing. Something was wrong. No. Not wrong. Different. She could feel it now, faint but undeniable, something inside her. Awakening. Days passed. Vaelyra grew stronger. Faster than she should have. The healers whispered when they thought she couldn't hear them. "It's unnatural. Her body is restoring itself. There's power in her." Vaelyra heard everything, and it terrified her. One night, the dreams began. She stood in a battlefield, fire raging around her, the sky split with lightning. Wolves howled in the distance, their cries echoing with war. And in front of her, a throne, black, ancient, waiting. She stepped toward it slowly, her heart pounding. "Take it!" The voice echoed around her, powerful and commanding. She turned and saw herself, but not as she was, stronger, crowned, unbreakable. Vaelyra woke with a gasp, her body trembling. "What is happening to me?" she whispered. "You're remembering." She turned sharply. Zareth stood in the doorway, watching her. "I'm losing my mind," she said, shaking her head. "I'm seeing things that don't make sense." "They do," he interrupted calmly. "No, they don't," she snapped. "I'm not special. I'm not powerful. I'm nothing." "Enough." The word cracked through the room like thunder. Vaelyra flinched. Zareth stepped closer, his gaze burning into hers. "You are not nothing," he said, his voice low and intense. "And the sooner you stop believing that lie, the sooner you'll understand what you truly are." "And what is that?" she challenged, though her voice wavered. Zareth held her gaze. "Dangerous." Before she could respond, a guard burst into the room. "Your Majesty," he shouted, breathless. "Forces from the Ashen Claw Pack have breached the outer borders." Valyra's blood ran cold. "No," she whispered. Zareth's expression didn't change. "How many?" he asked calmly. "Too many," the guard replied. "And their alpha? He's leading them." Valyra's heart stopped. "Thalrian." "He came for me," she said, her voice barely audible. Zareth glanced at her briefly. "Of course he did." "Then send me away," she said quickly, panic rising. "I won't let him destroy your kingdom because of me." "No." The word was absolute. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," Zareth cut in, his voice turning colder. "He wants what he believes is his." Vaelyra flinched. "I'm not his anymore," she whispered. Zareth's eyes darkened. "I know." A beat of silence. Then, "And he will learn that as well." Zareth turned toward the door. "Stay here," he ordered. "I'm not hiding," Vaelyra shot back, pushing herself out of the bed despite the lingering weakness in her body. "I won't run again." Zareth paused. Slowly. He looked back at her. Something like approval flickered in his eyes. "Then don't," he said. The battlefield roared with chaos. Wolves clashed, claws and teeth tearing through the night, the air thick with blood and fury. Vaelyra stood at the edge, her heart pounding as memories and fear warred inside her. "You came back," a voice sneered. She turned. Thalrian stepped forward, his presence just as overwhelming as before, but now something had changed. She wasn't the same girl. "You should have died," he continued, his gaze cold. "It would have been easier." Vaelyra lifted her chin. "I'm done making things easy for you." His lips curled. "You still think you matter?" Before she could respond, a presence stepped beside her. Zareth. The air shifted instantly. "You speak too much," Zareth said calmly, his voice carrying effortlessly across the battlefield. "For someone who's already lost." Thalrian's eyes narrowed. "And who are you to stand beside what belongs to me?" Zareth's expression turned lethal. "She was never yours." Power surged. The ground trembled. Valyra's breath caught as something inside her finally broke free. Not pain, not fear. Power, raw, ancient, unstoppable. Her eyes burned as energy coursed through her veins, her body straightening as if answering a call she had ignored her entire life. Thalrian stepped back, shock flashing across his face. "What? Are you?" he demanded. Vaelyra looked at her hands, glowing faintly with something otherworldly. Then she looked up. "I'm done being your victim." The battle shifted. Completely. And as silence slowly fell over the battlefield, Zareth stepped forward, his gaze never leaving her. Then, in front of everyone, the Alpha King dropped to one knee. "Not just my mate," he said, his voice steady, powerful. Vaelyra's breath caught. "My queen." And in that moment, everything changed.